1 Corinthians 13, which most people know it, it's the love chapter. It's used in most weddings, isn't it? Mm. But it wasn't really wrote for the weddings, was it? It was wrote for the church.
1 Corinthians.
So, one of the things you'll find out in 1 Corinthians 13, it talks about love, right? But this is probably one of the verses I hear whenever you say about certain things that's in the Bible, and people don't like it. They'll say, aren't you supposed to love the person, not judge them? Wait a minute. We're supposed to be telling people about sin, aren't we? So let's read it first. So, though I speak with the tongues of men and angels, but have not love, I become a sounding brass, or a clanging cymbal. Even though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge and all thoughts, I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and thought I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits nothing. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy, does not parade itself, it is not puffed up, it does not behave rudely, it does not seek its own, and does not provoke, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth, bears all things, believing all things, hoping all things, enduring all things. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will fail. Where there are tongues, they will cease. Where there is knowledge, it will vanish away. For we know in part, who prophesies in part. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part will be done away. When as a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away the childish things. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but the face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know, just as I also am known. And now by faithfully, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love. You know, he starts out, he says about prophecies, he's saying about all these other gifts. What does he say is the most important gift we have to have?
Love for one another.
Love. You know, what is love? Love isn't letting people do whatever they want, is it?
No.
I mean, what good would a police officer do if they didn't stop the criminals? We are, in our churches and that, we have to tell them what the sin is. Don't we?
Yeah.
That's not being hateful. Would you let a little kid go out and play in the middle of the road?
No.
You wouldn't. This is one of the things you have to learn. When you start talking about love, love isn't, how would I put it? People today think, let us do whatever we want, and that's love.
No.
That really isn't love.
No.
If we're using that as love, then we don't know what love is.
No.
Because what does it say in the Bible about a father? A father will discipline his own child, won't he?
Mm-hmm.
He might not discipline somebody else's, but he will discipline his because he loves them, don't he? Mm-hmm. So, when we look at love, it's not always that thing that people think it is. They say, well, like when you start talking about same-sex marriages, stuff like that, and I've seen people put it on Facebook, and they get mad at them. And they're saying that this is always the chapter they take back, and they say, well, you're supposed to love them no matter what. Well, if they're doing something wrong, I don't want them to go to hell. My love is letting them know they're doing wrong. Because he said, because like he said, if you bestow good for the food to the poor, thoughts, I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. Doesn't, does it? But then he also goes in, love suffers long and is kind. What does it mean to suffer long? I mean, when we know somebody's doing wrong, we really suffer over that, don't we?
Yeah, we tell them and.
But whenever they come back, if they repent and come back, what are we supposed to do?
God's a long-suffering God. He knows all about long-suffering because he suffered right with us.
Well, we're supposed to accept them back and love them, aren't we? We're not supposed to hold grudges.
We're supposed to be patient with them too.
What's that?
We're supposed to be patient with them.
Yep.
And make them back and show off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what it says, you know. It says, you know, it says also, love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up. Wait a minute. If you're going out to give the message of God, what's the biggest turn off for people when you start trying to tell them about God? If you start arguing with them and everything,
They
get turned off. You might win the argument, but are you going to win that person?
No. You're going to drive a wedge in that situation.
You know, so far, when you're out there in the world to work with teens, I can tell you with teens, they better know I care for them before they'll listen to me. As a church, how do we get people to know that we care for them? We have to show them we care, don't we? We have to have the compassion. We have to show the love.
Actions speak louder than words, and that kind of.
But sometimes we'll say in churches we love, you know, because it says here, does not behave rudely. So in our church, so we should be rude to anybody?
No.
We shouldn't be. 1 Corinthians 13. We shouldn't be. It does not seek its own. It doesn't seek its own pleasure. When you're a family, what are we supposed to look at? If you really love everybody in your family, what are you going to do? The best thing is for the whole family, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be what's the best thing for you. I know a lot of mothers, they would go out without eating first before they let one of their kids go out eating, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
That's showing love, isn't it? You're not worried about yourself. You're worried about the ones you love, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
It is not even provoked. It thinks no evil. That's a hard one for us, isn't it? If we're going to love in the church, we shouldn't be thinking evil of anybody, should we? This is a big challenge for every one of us because I know I'm one of the biggest ones. When I get mad, I hold a grudge. Kim will tell you. And I you know, that's one of my struggles. When my temper gets wound up, I'll get it going. But we're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to be thinking evil of people. We're supposed to be looking for the better in them. It does not rejoice in equity, it rejoices in truth. This is one of the things we're talking about, truth. We have to speak truth in love. If you're going to tell somebody they're doing wrong, are they going to listen to you if you just yell at them?
No.
When you get people yelling at you in a street corner about what you're doing, do they listen? But if you talk to them concerning, I can tell you right now, I have teens, when they do something wrong, I'm the last one they want to tell.
Yes.
Because they know I care, and I've told them what they're doing is wrong. So I've had them call me and say to me, "No, I messed up," and that's one of the things they don't want to tell me. But then I accept them. I love them. I said, "We're here to help you, not to destroy you. Did you learn from your mistake?" And they'll say, "Yeah." Then that's when we're supposed to take them. If they're repentant of it, we're supposed to take and love them. bring them along, aren't we?
Yep.
In the church, that's what we're supposed to do.
Yep.
A church is supposed to be a spot where we're loving each other, edifying each other, and building each other up. And it says here, bear all things, believing all things, hoping in all things, and enduring all things. So, if we see a brother stumbling, shouldn't we be praying for them and hoping they get their life straightened around? Sometimes you'll hear people, well, they're getting what they deserve. That's not what we're called to do, are we? This is about the church. This is about giving people the second chance that Jesus gives us. Everything we do is supposed to be out of love. Are we taught that in our houses? No. So this is something we have to learn by watching what Jesus did in the Bible. We're not going to be able to do this on our own. We have to do this through him. Because it says, love never fails. And he goes down through he goes through a lot of the other gifts you have. And they always fail somebody, don't they? Love is the one that don't. I mean, when we go to heaven, you're not even going to need most of them gifts, are you? The only one you're going to need is love. But what do? It says here we need to get rid of the child. When I was a child, I spoke as a child, and I understood as a child. I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. So in a church, what are we supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be growing. Are we past the child phase? As a mature Christian, we should be the ones that are growing. We should be the ones showing the love. The younger Christians, are they going to always show the love because they don't know it yet, do they?
Yeah.
They haven't been taught. But the mature Christians here, what should we be doing?
Teach them.
What best example of how to teach somebody is by doing it yourself. And if we're not living it, we can't grow the church, can we?
Yeah.
A church fighting inside itself is going to destroy itself. But if you have a church that loves each other, it's going to grow. This is one of the big things that you learn. You know, because we have to look back. And he used the example of looking in the mirror. You know, are we looking in the mirror and seeing what we're actually like? Are we evaluating ourselves? Are we actually going to be the ones that show the love? And that's what we're here for, every one of us. Because he says the greatest gift is love. Because he gave faith, hope, and love. These three, love is the greatest. You know, do you want to go into a place where you're not loved? Have you ever went into a place where you know people there hate you? Do you want to be there? When we walk into a church, we should be walking into a place where we know people are there that's going to love us and support us.
Yeah.
And that's what he's trying to get through these Corinthians, because they had problems, didn't they? Didn't he start out first where they were fighting between each other? Chloe told them. Didn't they have, but he also told them to discipline the guy that was sleeping with his stepmother. Because he said that's showing them love, because if you're not, you have to take it and show him that you can't do that. So this is something we have to learn. How do you show true love? And this is one of the examples we have to use is Christ, because I can tell you, I didn't come from a perfect family. And I don't think none of us have. So the only way we learn how to do true love is by following what Christ did. And that's what Paul's trying to get to the Corinthians. we're supposed to have the true love. And that's what will help everybody here. Let's go to prayer.